In 2001, Steve Jobs proposed an exclusivity deal to Sony Vaio to run macOS. But Sony declined because of concerns of resources and a rising PC market, but the next Windows version would be Windows 8. Akira Morishita and Masaru Umpuka, Sony's founders, kind of mirror image, at least in my mind, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, both in design philosophy and ease of use, plus the proprietary nature of many of their products. So it's no wonder that Steve Jobs went to go work with them in 2001, actually going as far as offering macOS to be exclusively on Sony Vaio. And you can definitely see the similarities between Sony Vaio and a MacBook. Now, as a kid just getting interested in tech, and tech was just exploding in the market, Sony Vaio and MacBooks were actually more similar than you might think by today's standard. My grandma took me to my family reunion, which is near Chicago, and we went to the Sony shop in Chicago. And there is where I saw my first Sony Vaio and the first time I ever saw a solid state disk. There I got to use the test demo of the Sony Vaio, and it was so fast when compared to the family computer still running on a hard drive. It was the first solid state SATA drive put into a laptop, at least to me. But the Sony Vaio had that MacBook aesthetic, running Windows on a solid state drive way before most of the industry was trying that. I never really hear about them compared to the major players, and I don't know if it's a good buy or not, but Sony Vaios are still around, but they're just not Sony. On February 4th, 2014, Sony announced the sale of Sony Vaio PC business due to low sales. And I always wonder if they regret that decision to not have macOS on the Vaio. Can you imagine the alternate history where they took that deal? Because if they were willing to do that with Sony, they may have been willing to do that with other companies as long as they followed certain trademarks or certain design language. The Vaio certainly had it, and I think Vaio had that design language much before the rest of the industry caught up with the MacBook.